Be ready. 5 seconds to go. Start. Honorable Speaker, Sir, I rise to support the motion of thanks moved by my senior colleague, expressing the gratitude of this august House to the Honorable President of India for his address to both the Houses of Parliament. Sir, the speech of the Honorable President of India is the best compliment to the persistent faith of the common man of India in the democratic process and also to the strong resolve of his government to change the life of the common man. The multifarious programs that are announced in his speech, which are going to be implemented in the next 100 days and also in the next 365 days, are going to transform the face of the rural India. Indeed, it is the bounden duty of this newly elected parliament and the government to fulfill the aspirations of over a billion people. Sir, I would like to say that we are here today because we had a government which functioned and a government which performed. I know that before the results of the election were announced, there was a propaganda that India was going to face another crisis and that nobody is going to have a majority. Many were dreaming that they could become the prime minister by default, but today we have to salute the common sense of the common man of India who, beyond expectations, voted for a strong government and voted for a working government for the next 5 years. Sir, the media was full of news that the Congress was going to meet its end and the UPA was going to be uprooted. But this kind of propaganda was defeated by the common man. Today, we are looking at the world with confidence. We are introducing programs by which we can raise the standard of the poor in this country. What we need is an India where our children can have a better life than what we had. While discussing about the programs, it is worthwhile to go back into the history and see what happened during the last 5 years. During the last 5 years, nobody had a majority and it was a hung parliament. The world was looking down upon India, saying that democracy is going to be finished and nobody was going to have a strong government in the country. It was the statesmanship and the far-sightedness of our leaders that led UPA to victory and form the government in this country. Today, the history will also testify that the government in the last 5 years was one of the most effective and the most functional government in the history of this country. Many programs were implemented which have taken our country to greater heights. Sir, I would like to draw your attention toward the economic the world is facing today. But even during this worst period, our country has attained 7% growth rate, which is second only to China. In the last 5 years, the average rate of growth of this country was 8.5%. This is a fact and nobody can dispute that. I would like to remind the honorable members of the opposition that even during the India shining days, India's growth rate was just 5.8%. But during the last 5 years, India could achieve an 8.5% growth rate, and that is the reason why there is a strong government and working majority today. Without any pressure from any side, this government can implement the programs. That kind of a situation has emerged when the government came out with its programs. A lot of pressure was there on the government. But today, the people of this country have found an answer to all these kinds of uncertainties. To end this uncertainty, the people have given a clear cut mandate. Sir, in the last 5 years, the programs implemented by the UPA government have no parallel in the recent history. Major achievements of the government were claimed by many. In fact, we had a common minimum program in the past. We were having some friends supporting us from outside, and we were having some parties within the country. But we believe that the basics of the common minimum program were there in the Congress manifesto in the beginning. Of course, we had discussed it with all the parties and we had drawn up a common minimum program. But the major achievements of the government produced positive results in the country. The Right to Information Act was passed by the last government. The common man who elects the government is the superpower in this country. But under the Official Secrets Act, the common man was not allowed to have the information. Now, there is a legal provision called the Right to Information Act passed by this august house. As per that law, every citizen of this country is entitled to get all the information regarding the decision taken process. Like that, the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act was passed by the UPA government. It is a 100 days guaranteed employment program. There is no discrimination whether one is a male or a female. Today, we see the positive effects it has in the villages. On this major scheme, hundreds and thousands of crores of rupees are being spent. The Honorable President has made a very categorical statement in his speech that this is going to be a widespread program and could be implemented throughout the country. The commitment of this government is that whatever be the expenditure, this program will be implemented it in its full measure. Honorable Speaker, Sir, and Honorable Member said that India lives in villages. So far as the infrastructure development of the rural India is concerned, it is well taken care of by the UPA government. A huge fund has been provided for connecting villages with urban areas. If you go through the previous budget, you may find that there is a five-fold increase in the provision of funds for rural education. When you analyze the major strength of this growth rate, you may find that the investment in agriculture has been increased many folds. The investment in rural infrastructure, agriculture, and education is a guarantee of the persistent growth rate in this country. Sir, an amount of rupees 50,000 crore is going to be spent for the urban development projects. A new scheme is being drawn out under this project